Okay. Yeah. Any questions for me before I move on? All right. Okay. So let me get started with that activity. I hope you guys got time to look at the activity. Here we go. So in the activity, we had three things, right? We had, I think yeah. I forwarded only exercise 1 and exercise 2 for both of for all of you. So when it comes to exercise 1, what it says was one need to develop an inheritance hierarchy, whereas in that inheritance hierarchy we should have an interface, abstract class, concrete class, car and motorcycle. The inheritance hierarchy should involve an interface, abstract class, concrete class, cars and a motorcycle. Now one need to decide where the following instance variables should be defined in the hierarchy. So this application should involve an interface, should also need to involve an abstract class and also need to involve concrete classes. And it says for car and motorcycle, two cars and motorcycles. So let's say car and motorcycle. Now again we need to identify there are some 8 variables. So we need to identify where they should fall. So what I do is I'll think of the interface and abstract class later. I think of the interface and abstract class later. First I go with 2 classes. First I go with 2 classes. Car and the motorcycle. So I got a class called car. I also got a class called motorcycle. Now when I look at the variables, you got a make, color, number of wheels, gates on left, number of doors, current speed, engine state and the gear position. And I see that these variables are applicable for both of them. These variables are applicable for both of them. They are applicable for the car they are also applicable for the motorcycle. Whether the engine state is in off or off, on or off. So you have these variables, and as I said, these variables are also applicable to the motorcycle. So I would like to place them too. But number of doors for motorcycle makes no sense. So seems to be good, but I have a concern. Why there is a concern? Because I learned inheritance. I know what is inheritance. So the advantage of inheritance is what? Code reusability. So what inheritance says? You create a new class making use of the existing class. Create a new class making use of the existing class. One need to create a class making use of the existing class, and what is that is called inheritance, and what is advantage? One can reuse the code which is already written. But if you look at when I make two classes called car and the motorcycle, I am duplicating the variables. When you look at I have a car and a motorcycle, then I got the variables, and the variables are being mentioned in car as motorcycle. So I feel that I am duplicating the variables. Then I know a solution called inheritance. So I'm going for a class called vehicle. I'm going for a class called vehicle. Then the common attributes between car and motorcycle, I'm listing it in the vehicle.java. The common attributes between the car and motorcycle, I'm listing it in the vehicle.java. Then what will I have in the car? Number of doors. Why number of doors is not in the vehicle? Because number of doors is not applicable to the motorcycle. So in the vehicle.java, I am listing only those attributes which are common for both of them. Then I make the car extend the vehicle. Similarly, I make the motorcycle extend the vehicle. Now, the next turn. What access specifier would you like to add? I would like to have a private. So I am adding a private access specifier. I'm adding a private access specifier for all these things, for the attributes which are in the vehicle.java. Now, So I finished a bit of work because I was able to decide where the variables should be defined in the hierarchy. So the first challenge was decide where the following instance variables should be defined in the hierarchy. Now what next you have? Use a default constructor for each class to assign values to these variables. So what is the next challenge? Right, the next challenge is one should make use of a default constructors. Let's go here. So I have a car, then I'm defining a constructor. I'm defining a constructor. Now this constructor is no argumented because that is what asked for. In the requirement document, he specified that you cannot have an argumented constructor. So number of doors is 4. Then what about the rest of the features? They are in the parent class. So in the parent class, use a default constructor and initialize. So I'll say when it comes to make, color, number of wheels, gates on left, current speed, engine state, gear position. So I initialize them, right? In the requirement document, it says use the default constructors to set the values. Yes, I did. So when I create a car object, car class constructor executes, and when we create object for the child class, not only the child class constructor but also the parent class constructor executes when they are no argument. What about your parent? Is it argumented or no argumented? My parent got a no argumented constructor. So when I create object for the car constructor executes, but before car constructor, it also invokes a parent constructor. So your vehicle constructor executes. So I have a car made by Maruti, which is red in color, and the number of wheels are 4. It got the gates on the left side, engine state is off, and the gate position is in the park mode. Next comes is what? Motorcycle. So here also I will like to have a default constructor, but guys remember, when you don't define any constructor, compiler provides a default. So here, even you write a constructor or you don't write a constructor, compiler provides a default constructor. Now that default constructor will invoke the parent class constructor because of inheritance. So when I create object for motorcycle, not only this motorcycle constructor but vehicle constructor executes. But here comes the challenge. When you create object for the motorcycle, not only the motorcycle constructor but also the vehicle constructor executes. But when your vehicle constructor executes, what happens? Your motorcycle is manufactured by Maruti and color is red and number of wheels are 4. I hope you got the problem. You are initializing the instance members in the parent class. When you initialize the instance members in the parent class, all your children will have the same values. All your children will have the same values. Your car got the same values, your motorcycle got the same values. But this doesn't make any sense. So I won't be using the parent class constructor to initialize it. Then what is the solution now? What is the solution? You have to initialize it in the child class. But will your child able to access private members? Will I be able to access private members here? I got a vehicle.java. Can I access number of wheels here? No. Private members are not accessible. See, the number of wheels is not visible. Why the number of wheels is not visible? Because it's a private member. Then what is the solution? Solution is change private to any other access specifier. So when I say any other, I won't be specifying any keyword. I won't be specifying any keyword. So when I won't specify any keyword, what is the access specifier? It's package friendly. Package friendly. Now look at this. I will be able to access it. Being a child, I will be able to access it. And where is the child class? The child class is in the same package. Where is the parent class? Parent class and child class are in the same package. So since you didn't specify any access specifier, it's a package friendly and can be accessed in the child. Now I have I'm trying to create a child in another package. I'm trying to create a child in another package. Now look at this. Will I be able to access them? The number of wheels is not visible because in the vehicle.java you didn't specify any access specifier. When you don't specify any access specifier, the privilege is restricted to the package. So within the package anyone can access. But where is the another car class? This car class is outside the package. So I won't be able to access it. Though the car is a child of the vehicle, whereas vehicle belongs to day.9. assignment, I won't be able to access it because it's a package friendly. So package friendly means within the package people can access. Outside the package they cannot, though it is a child. Then I have a solution to it. If you want it to be accessed outside, make it as protected. Now you see, there is a class outside the package and which is a child class. It is a child class. So I'm able to access number of fields. The reason? Protected. So protected members are accessible by the child, whether the child is in the same package or child is in another package. Protected members are accessible by the child, whether the child is in the same or child is in another package. So here I just want to talk about the access privileges. So when it comes to this, you got a vehicle. When you don't specify any access specifier, then your child is able to access, whereas your child is in the same package. This is one solution. Now in case if you want to have private keyword, then your child classes cannot access the private members. Now in this case, you have another solution. Get source, right click source, generate the getters and setters. Where do we need to right click? Inside the class. Getter and setters. Now what you do in the car.java is, since you have the private members, you can invoke the setter methods, because setter methods are what? Your set methods and get methods are public. So you set the number of wheels, set the make, set the color, set the engine state, gear position, current speed, what we are left with. Yeah, gates on left, true. It's done. Similarly, you can go with a motorcycle and you can set whatever the values you want to do. Done. Right, so that's what here, use the default constructor for each class to assign the values, and here he also gave us an int that pays special attention to the access specifiers. I hope we did. So we know what to do when it is a public, when it is a private, when it is a protected, or when you don't specify anything. So we finished off our exercise 1, right? Let's move on to exercise 2. Let's move on to exercise 2. Now what exactly the exercise 2 is? He gave some methods and to change the state of the vehicle. Now again we need to identify where to keep these methods in the hierarchy. Where to keep these methods in the hierarchy. So what are the vehicles? Start engine, increase the speed, stop engine, maximum speed, shift the gear position. So these methods are applicable for both of them, right? Even car and motor. Okay, fine, let's go here. Let me put it in the car first. So starting the engine, increasing the speed, stop the engine, Set the maximum speed. Shift the gear position. Fine. But here, we listed the methods in the car. But are those methods not applicable for the motorcycle? Yes, they are, right? So, the way I start the car is same as the way I start the motorcycle. The way I stop the car is same as the way I stop the motorcycle. Changing the gear position is the same way, increasing the speed is the same way. So the way the implementations are same for car and motorcycle. And of course, it doesn't make sense to define these methods. It doesn't make sense to define these methods in car as well as motorcycle. I need to define them in both the places, car as well as motorcycle. Instead, I would like to choose in the vehicle. I would like to add these methods. I would like to add these methods in the vehicle.java. I would like to add these methods in the vehicle.java. Start the engine, stop the engine, increase the speed, maximum speed, shift the gear position. So how do you start the engine? It's simple. Just make it as engine state is on. Because when you create object, what is the engine state? Off. So when you start, engine state goes to on. When you stop, engine state goes to off. Now, I want to shift the gear position. So what you want to change it to? Whatever the argument I pass. If I pass park, gear position is in park. If the gear position is in the run mode, my vehicle is running. So these methods are good because the way you start the car is same as the way you start the motorcycle. The way you stop the car is same as the way you stop the motorcycle. The way you change the gear position is the same. Now here comes the challenge. Now what is that is, I need to increase the speed. How do I increase the speed of the vehicle? Simple, right? If you want to increase the speed of the vehicle, first you need to know the maximum speed. So here I go. The current speed plus the amount. If the current speed plus the amount is less than the maximum speed, how do I get the maximum speed? By calling the method get maximum speed. Then I increase the speed. Otherwise, no. I won't be increasing the speed because I cannot go beyond the maximum speed, right? So this is also fine. I implemented the logic for increasing the speed. But if you guys observe, if I want to increase the speed, I need to know the maximum speed of the vehicle. If I want to increase the speed, I need to know the maximum speed of the vehicle. But will the maximum speed of the vehicle will be same for car and motorcycle? Maximum speed of the vehicle, will it be same for car and motorcycle? No. Maximum speed of the vehicle, will it be same for car and motorcycle? No. So this maximum speed method should not be in the vehicle.java. Why this maximum speed should not be in the vehicle.java? Because it won't be same for car and as well as motorcycle. It varies for car and motorcycle. So this maximum speed I won't be specifying in the car and motorcycle. I'm sorry. The maximum speed is in the vehicle.java. The get maximum speed is in the vehicle.java, but maximum speed won't be same for car and motorcycle. It varies for car and motorcycle. So I feel that the best location for the maximum speed is not the vehicle. It's a car and motorcycle. So I say the car maximum speed is maybe 300, and for motorcycle is fine. I hope you understood why the get maximum speed is placed in the car and motorcycle, not in the vehicle.java. But you see, remember, if you see here, the moment I move the get maximum speed into the car and motorcycle, you find a red color mark in the vehicle.java because the increase speed method was dependent on get maximum speed. The increase speed method will depend on get maximum speed, because without knowing the maximum speed, how can you increase the speed? Of course, there will be a red color mark because a parent cannot access child members. A parent cannot access child members. Child can access parent members, whereas parent cannot access the child members. Get maximum speed is a child member. It's not a parent member. Get maximum speed is a child member, not a parent member. So what I need to do now? What is the solution? I have to move this method also to the child. I have to move increase speed also to the child. But if I start moving the increase speed also to the child, then I am duplicating the code. I'm duplicating the code. I'm also putting it into the motorcycle. I also need to paste it in the car. So I end up in duplicating the code. So this is not the right solution. Moving the increase speed method to car and motorcycle is not the right solution. Then what is the right solution? The right solution is, you got the car, this get maximum speed method. That method, you just declare it here. Don't implement it, declare it here. In the parent class, declare the get maximum speed. But in Java, we cannot declare without abstract keyword. In Java, we cannot declare without abstract keyword. But if a class consists of an abstract method, then respective class becomes what? Abstract. Now you see, I fixed all the problem. In order to increase the speed of the vehicle, I need a get maximum speed. Get maximum speed belongs to the child classes. So that method, I declared it as an abstract, because parent cannot access child members. So that child member, I declared it as an abstract in the parent, so that parent members can access it. But where is the implementation for these things? For the get maximum speed. It is in the car and motorcycle. Can I create object for the vehicle? No. Vehicle is an abstract. So you can create object for car. And when you create object for car, child members as well as parent members both get executed. So when your parent member is trying to increase the, when I'm trying to increase the speed, this increased speed depends on maximum speed, but this maximum speed implementation is not in the parent, it is in the child. So if you create a car object, then car class get maximum speed will execute when I call get maximum speed. If I create motorcycle object, then motorcycle maximum speed will get called when I call increase speed. I hope you understood the purpose of the abstract method now. Why there is a need to declare a method and define it later in the children. I hope you got the purpose of it. Alright. So, as per the requirement document, he insisted me to use an abstract class, concrete classes, and also an interface. So, I am successful in completing exercise 1 and exercise 2 without interface. Now I need to introduce interface into this. I need to introduce interface into this. How do I do that? Let's make an attempt. I'm creating an interface in the package and I am labeling it as iVehicle. Then all those methods which you have in the vehicle.java, I declare them in the interface. Because in the interface you cannot define them. In the interface you cannot define them. So I'm trying to declare. So yeah. See, whether you specify the keyword abstract or you don't specify the keyword abstract, by default the methods of the interface are abstract. Whether you specify the keyword abstract or you don't specify the keyword abstract, by default the methods of the interface are abstract. Good. Now what I do is, I make my vehicle class, I make the vehicle class implements iVehicle. Now what is iVehicle? iVehicle is an interface, it got some abstract methods. And any of these abstract methods, the respective child, vehicle is implementing iVehicle and it is overriding all the methods. It is overriding the start engine, overriding the increase speed, overriding the stop engine, overriding the shift, but it is not overriding the get maximum speed. So, when you implement an interface, you are expected to override the methods. If you don't want to, declare it as an abstract. Make it as an abstract. But when you make it as an abstract, then the class becomes abstract too. This is fine. We are aware of. But why you will see a red color marks here? You already implemented the methods, right? Let's focus. This is the very important point. If you see the error message, cannot reduce the visibility of the inherited method. So, by default, the methods of the interface are what? By default, the methods of the interface are what? Are public and abstract. By default, the methods of the interface are public and abstract. By default, the methods of the interface are public and abstract. So the point to remember is, while implementation class overriding the methods should increase the privilege. While implementation class overriding the methods should increase the privilege and cannot reduce it. That is, when your vehicle.java, when it is overriding the methods of interface iVehicle, what is expected is, you see the access specifier here, it should increase. So what is the order of this? The highest privilege is public, then protected, then package friendly, then private. So what is the access specifier in the interface? Public. So while overriding, I should apply public, or I should apply anything higher than public. But do we have anything higher than the public? No. So I just apply public. If you apply anything else, then there will be an error message. Again, you see, cannot reduce the visibility. It should be more. It cannot be less, or it should be same. So the moment I add public, so this is very, very important point in terms of interview question. Can I change the access specifier while overriding? Yes, you can, but the privilege should increase, not decrease. While overriding, the method access specifier should increase, or it should remain same, but it cannot decrease. Same in the car. Here you declare it as public. So when your car and motorcycle, while overriding, the point to remember is, while overriding the method, the access specifier should remain same, or access specifier should increase, but it cannot be decreased. And one more point. Here he gave us a hint. Hey, declare your get maximum speed as a protected method. What did he insist on? He insists on to declare the get maximum speed as a protected one. So I go to the vehicle and I try to make it as a protected. But will I be able to do that? No. Why? Because this get maximum speed belongs to iVehicle, and in the iVehicle, what is the default specifier? Public. And while overriding, can access specifier will be decreased? No. Access specifier should remain same, or it should increase, but it cannot be decreased. But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to decrease it. Can I do that? No. The privilege should increase, cannot decrease, cannot reduce the visibility. Then what should I do? As per the requirement document, it should be protected. So the simple solution is, go to the interface, remove the method from there. Which method? The get maximum speed. Because if you put a method in the interface, by default it is public. The default access specifier for the methods in the interface is public. And while overriding, you cannot reduce the visibility, you can increase it. So I think I finished off the exercise 1 and exercise 2, and I hope I communicated the need for interface and the need for abstract class, and I also discussed a few points while to remember while overriding, and also a few points to remember while specifying the access specifier. So any questions for me on this before I move on to the next topic? A complete activity or any questions with respect to the abstract or interfaces?
Hi Arun.
Yeah, hi.
I understand that the assignment said to create a method get maximum speed. Suppose that was not specified. In that case, we can just have a variable maximum speed and declare it in the vehicle class. Is that possible?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
You can declare a variable get maximum speed, and you can set the values, right? But
Right.
what is a good practice is don't use a variable to change the value of the variable.
Okay.
What is a good practice is always have the variables, and to modify the value of the variable, make use of the get method and set method.
Okay.
Right. It's not
So,
recommended to modify the value of the variable using directly variable. Means
right.
this
So,
is not recommended. So instead, make use of your setter method to modify the value outside the class. Within the class, you can do this the way I did
right.
here. But outside the
Uh-huh.
class, if you want to modify the value of the variable, what is a good programming convention is use a set method to modify the value of it.
Okay.
Right.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So any other questions? All right. So one point I would like to convey before I move on is, uh, can I extend two classes at a given point of time? Here you go. I got a class X. I want to create a class Y. Oh, I also have a class Y. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 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 So I got a class X and I got a class Y. Then I'm creating a class Z, but I want to acquire the properties of X and the Y. Now, this is not allowed in Java. This is not supported in Java. So the question is why? Why this is not supported in Java? This feature was available in C++, but why not in Java? So we are not going to talk about why it is supported in C++. So the only point I want to convey is it's supported in C++, but not in Java. I would like to focus only why it is not supported in Java. Now assume you got a method called get in class X. Now you've also got a method called get in class Y. Is there any relationship between the X and the Y? No, they are two different classes. There are two different classes. and there is no relationship between both of them. But the only concern is X class also got a get method and Y class also got a get method. Now, as we know, a child can acquire the properties of the parent. A child can acquire the properties of the parent. Then I have a demo class, and in the demo class I got a main method. Now here I am creating the object of the Z class. I am creating the object of the Z class. Then on the Z class, when I try to say get, can you help me out whether the get method of the X class is will get called or Y class? So here there is an ambiguity, right? There is a confusion. Which method it's gonna call? The X, get from the X or get from the Y? So this is the problem. So that's the reason this is not supported in Java. Extending multiple classes is not supported in Java, and the reason behind is this. On child, if you try to call the methods, if they have the common name in both the classes, both the parents, there is ambiguity for the child whether to call the method from the parent X or to call the method from the parent Y. So to avoid this problem, they simply avoided this concept. You cannot extend more than one class. One can extend only one class. This is not supported. Only this is supported. I hope I addressed why multiple inheritance is not supported. Then there was one suggestion here. No. When I asked, is multiple inheritance supported? No. But there is a solution again. You can implement it, right, with the help of interface. With the help of interface. Let's see why it's possible with the help of interface. Why it was not possible with we discussed why it is not possible with the class. We already discussed why multiple inheritance is not possible with the class. But let's see how it is achieved with the help of interfaces. So have an interface X. Now in an interface, if I say I have a method get, what do you have? Do you have the body of the method? No, you don't have a body of the method. You just have a method declaration. Now you got another interface. Y. This also got a method called get. And do you see implementation of the method in the interface? Interface is a collection of abstract methods. Interface is a collection of abstract methods. Interface is a collection of abstract methods. You got a X class, you got an X interface, you got a Y interface, and they have one method with the same name and called get. Now I am creating a class Z, but I won't be using extends keyword. I'll be using a implements keyword. Now what? You are implementing the X class, you are implementing the interface X as well as interface Y. You will be writing the method only once. You won't be writing the same method again. Because you also have it in the interface X, so you also have it in the interface Y. So it doesn't mean that you will be writing this method twice. Because no two methods can have same name and same parameters. No two methods can have same name and same parameters in a class. This is not allowed. So you will be writing it only once, and in the demo class or whatever, when you create a Z object, now on this Z object you have a get method, and there is no ambiguity for you, no confusion. You are sure what method is going to get called. You are sure what method is going to get called. Now in this case also, yesterday we discussed, you can create the object of the class and store into the interface. Now here also you are very sure what method is going to get called, because there is only one get method. Here also you are sure what method is going to get called. So that is the reason we say multiple inheritance cannot be achieved with the help of classes, but it can be achieved with the help of interfaces, because they don't create problems. Because interfaces don't have the implementation. This is declaration, not definition. So when you implement, you implement it only once. Because in a class you cannot have two methods with the same name and same parameters. Similarly, you can happily call them on the object. So I hope I made it clear why multiple inheritance is not attained with the help of classes and how it can be attained with the help of interfaces. Alright. So any other question? Okay. So let's move on to the next thing. I got a class, but I talk about, we go to the class later. Exception. What is exception? An abnormal event which occurs during program execution. An abnormal event which occurs during program execution. And what this abnormal event will do? And it halts the program execution. It won't let your program execution complete. So exception is an abnormal event which occurs during the program execution, and it stops the program execution. It won't let your program continue. So it becomes necessary. It becomes necessary to handle it. It becomes necessary to handle it. To handle what? Handle the exception. And the process is called as exception handling. And the process is called as exception handling. These exceptions are of two types. There are many classifications. I am giving this classification. Mostly you will listen this term in the interview questions. Checked and unchecked. Now what is the difference between the checked and unchecked? compiler forces you to handle exception. So if your compiler is complaining, hey, handle exception, then they are your checked exceptions. Compiler unable to detect them. Your runtime environment will detect them. Then they are your unchecked exceptions. They are your unchecked exceptions. So let me discuss the first example of unhandled exception. Alright, so I'll discuss about this part. Now what is this arcs of 0? As we discussed earlier, it's a command line argument. You have another one. Okay, you see an exception here. Array index out of bounds exception. The reason is I am trying to read the values of an array, whereas my array size is 0. The array size is 0 and I am trying to access the first element. And I am also trying to access the second element. But is your line number 20 went for execution? No. You see, the exception is at the line number 19 itself. So as I said earlier, it halts the program execution. It won't let your program continues. The moment it sees the exception, it stops it. It won't allow it to continue. So here I have a solution for this. I go here, I say run configuration, and when I say run configuration, here you see something called as a tab, arguments tab. Then I pass one input value. Then I say apply. Then I say run. Now if you observe, it's not in the line number 19, it's line number 20 now. Because it needs two arguments, you passed only one. So the exception is at line number 20, the same exception. Again I say run configuration, arguments, I pass another value. Apply, run. The result is 1. This is normal flow of execution. Again I say run configuration. I would like to pass my second argument as 0. You see a different exception now. Arithmetic exception. Right. So what is happening? You didn't handle any exception, but your system, your JVM is going to tell you the reason for the exception. So though you didn't handle any exception, there is a privilege through which you can find out the reason for exception. But who is giving you that exception messages? JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Your Java Virtual Machine is giving you the exception messages. So here there is a point again. Java supports both built-in and user-defined exception handling. Now so far what is happening was the JVM is giving you the message, or the JVM is giving you the reason for exception. So it was telling you that you didn't supply input arguments. Then it tells that your second input value was a 0. So it was giving you the reason for the exception. So the programmer reads that error message and he goes back and handles it. Unless and until somebody tells you what is the problem, you cannot fix it. So your JVM is telling you what is the problem, then you went back and keep fixing them. But when you fix them, it's not on the flow. You go back, you fix it, you run it. Then again you see a message, you go back, you fix it and run it. Again you see a message, you go back and fix it and run it. This is how you do it. So this was your unhandled exception. But you had your arguments from the command prompt. You had your arguments from the command prompt. Instead, I can have it from the scanner. System.in represents the keyboard. Enter an integer. You need to enter your first value, you need to enter your second value. See exception. This was an unhandled exception now. But how one can handle the exception? Now in case if I want to handle it, how do I do that? It's a very simple task. The piece of code, this is a piece of code, and this is expected to throw the exception, right? So the piece of code which is expected to throw the exception is placed inside a try block. The piece of code which is expected to throw the exception is placed inside a try block. And try block cannot be alone. It needs to be followed by a catch block. So you have a catch and it is catching what? Exception. Then you can just say syso E. You can say syso E. It's a normal flow. Now you see, you don't see the complete big message. Exception in thread main, java dot, lang dot. It just gives you the reason. Hey, this is the reason for exception. This is short rather than scary, a huge one. But do you think this is something which an end user can understand? Suppose imagine that you don't have any programming knowledge, and if I tell you java.lang.array index out of bound exception, do you think you're gonna be able to interpret it? You're gonna able to digest that exception message? No. So what I can do is I should write the messages of my choice. But will I be able to do that? Because sometimes you get arithmetic exception. Sometimes you get something else, input mismatch exception. Then how can I write the message of my choice here? How can I write the message of my choice there? Because once it is what? Arithmetic exception. The other time it is what? Input mismatch exception. The other time it is what? It is something else. But how I will be able to write the messages of my choice? So what you need to do is, instead of writing the exception, exception is the parent class of all the classes in Java. Exception is the parent class of all the exceptions. So array index out of bound may be a direct or indirect child of exception. Arithmetic exception, direct or indirect child of exception. Input mismatch, direct or indirect child of exception. Alright, and we know that a parent can hold the address of the children. So that is the reason when I write exception, it can handle, it can catch arithmetic, it can catch input mismatch, it can also catch array index out of bound. The reason, exception being the parent, and we all know that a parent can hold the address of the children. So here, with my experience, I found that there is an input mismatch exception, right? So I give a message. First, let me show you what happens when I print E. Then I also show you, I can write here, input values must be of integer type. So this is something which end user can understand. Or if you say end user cannot understand integer, then I say at least you should understand numerics. See, when I printed E, so E, it says java.util.input mismatch, which end user cannot understand it. Whereas end user, by seeing this, oh, input values must be of numeric type, then he realizes that, oh, instead of the number, I entered a character. He realizes his mistake. Now see, what happened? You handled only input mismatch. You didn't handle arithmetic exception. But earlier it was happening, right? Because earlier you wrote parent. When you write parent, it can handle all children. But now you wrote what? Input mismatch. So it can only take care of input mismatch. It cannot take care of arithmetic exception. Then I need to write one more catch block. Then I need to write one more catch block for arithmetic exception. Now I write a message. Second input value must be a non-zero integer. Second input value must be a non-zero integer. Second input value must be a non-zero integer. Fine. So with your experience, you figured out that there is an input mismatch and arithmetic exception. There may be some other exception, right? See, with the experience what I have, I was only able to figure out that there are 2 exceptions possible from this try block code. But in case if I have more, but I don't know, then what happens? So in that case, it is always recommended to write parent as a last block. Because we don't know what is the other kind of exceptions may occur. So to be on the safe side, I write parent. So if I make any other mistake, parent will take care of. In case if not the child. So input mismatch, these all things are taken care of. But what happens if it is anything other than input mismatch and other than arithmetic exception? So what happens is, when any line of this code throw an exception, when any line of the try block throws an exception, first it compares with the first catch block. If the first catch block is satisfied, then the rest of the catch blocks are ignored. If the first one is not satisfied, then it goes to the second catch block. If the second catch block is satisfied, then it ignores the rest. Otherwise, it goes to the third. But in case instead of writing parent as a last, if you write parent as a first, what happens? If you write parent as a first, then you don't need to write the children later. Because whenever the exception arises, first it goes to the first catch block, and your first catch block is what? It's a parent. And parent can handle all the children. So everything is being handled here, then you don't need to write your child exception blocks. So that's the reason when you write your parent should be the last catch block. Your parent exception should be the last catch block. In case if the catch blocks written by you, the child catch blocks written by you, if they fail to catch the exception, then being the parent, it catches any kind of exception at the end. But in case if you try to use it in the beginning, then you don't need to write your child exception blocks. If you write it in the beginning, then you don't need to write your child exception blocks. Yeah. Any questions, or is it clear regarding the catch blocks? And try block cannot be alone. It must be followed by a catch. Whereas the catch can be only one or catch can be plenty. There's no restriction on the number of catches you write. You can write as many catches as you want. But you cannot keep your try block alone. It must be followed by a catch. Yeah. Any question on this part? Or is it good? Alright. If no question, I would like to stop here, right? Because I don't think I can move on with the next topic. It takes a bit more time, right? So if no questions, I'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class. I hope you guys got the last recordings till the last day. Okay. All right. Thank you, and catch you in the next session.